今日も、
こんにちは、先生。
そうだね。
こんにちは、先生。
はい、こんにちは。
こんにちは、先生。
はい、こんにちは。
こんにちは、先生。
こんにちは。Hi, everybody who's joining us online, remember, please leave your videos on. はい、では、始めます。はい、はい、こんにちは。はい、どうぞ。オンラインの皆さんも、こんにちは。
こんにちは、先生。
こんにちは、先生。
はい。では、始めますね。今日は、レッスン8の会話を読みます。ね、Today we'll be reading lesson 8 conversation. But before that, we'll do a little bit of review of some kanji. All the kanji that we've covered from lesson 4 until now, I would like to just do a small review of that before we go back into lesson 8. はい。で、いつも、I always ask, いつも、ね、今日は何月何日ですか？はい。今日は6月何日ですか？はい。9日ですね。今日は9日。The ninth date is 9日。明日は何日ですか？はい。10th date is 10日ですね。明日は10日です。6月10日です。明日は何曜日ですか？明日は何曜日ですか？はい、明日は月曜日です。今日は日曜日ですね。今日は日曜日です。はい。では、皆さん、can you all see the screen? Is it visible? Yes, so I'm just
はい。
オンライン大丈夫ですね。
はい。
はい。Okay, great. So what I want to do is I'm going to just put up some kanji over here. I want you all to try to read the word and then tell me what it means. Yes? We'll go one at a time. はい。はい。何の漢字ですか？学生ですね。学生。We're using 音読み plus 音読みね。What does it mean? Student, right? 学生 is student. I'll just move this up. はい。あ、すみません。こっちですね。はい。学は音読みですね。学生。はい。It's also the same kanji that comes in gakko. So you have to be careful how you read the second kanji. The kanji always appears in context. The meaning is student, right? Okay, so let's read the next one. これは何ですか？
大きいです。
This is key, right? Key. So this is 大きい。大きい means big, right? The reading of the kanji is お。おは音読みですか？訓読みですか？そうですか。訓読みですね。大きい。Sorry. It's a kunyomi. How do you know? Even if you don't know it's onyomi or kunyomi, there's a way to guess. That is, this is one word, right? This is one word. In one word, this part is kanji. The rest is finished by hiragana. In that case, mostly it will be kunyomi. Like 98% of the time, this is going to be kunyomi, not onyomi, the Japanese reading. Chinese reading will be in the case like gakuse, when you have two kanji to make one word. Now, there's a lot of words we learn in N5 where you only know one kanji. You don't know the other kanji for the rest of the word. Words like yobi, like nichiyobi, getsuyobi. The yo part has a kanji, but you don't know it yet. So when you learn words like that, I will tell you. You don't know that kanji yet. It has a kanji. Then you'll know that it's onyomi. Here, ki does not have a kanji. It's always written in hiragana. If it's kanji plus hiragana to make one word, it's always kunyomi. Daijoubu desu ka? Hai.
Okane.
Okane. It's the kin kanji, that is onyomi. Kunyomi is kane. We say okane. What does okane mean? Money, right? Money, great. Hachi desu ka?
Roku.
Very good. Roku nen. Roku nen. Onyomi or kunyomi? Onyomi. We're using, it's a compound of two different kanji, right? Making one word. Rokunen. What is rokunen? 6 years, right? 6 years. Great. Do,
Ue. Ue.
right? This is the ue kanji. Ue means
Above.
above, upper part, all of that. We'll do one kanji at a time. What kanji is this?
Daikon.
Dai or oki, right? It's the big kanji. And what about this one?
Hitokan.
It's the hito kanji, right? But this is one special word. It doesn't use, hi, exactly. It doesn't use any of the readings of the kanji. You have to just memorize. There are some special words like this. We pronounce it as otona. Otona. That sound doesn't come from either of this kanji. It's very special. Otona means, yes, adult. Hai, daijoubu desu ka?
Kuruma.
Hai, kuruma. Onyomi desu ka? Kunyomi desu ka?
Kunyomi.
Kunyomi desu ne. Kunyomi. Mostly when a kanji stands on its own and makes one word, just that kanji is a word, then you mostly use kunyomi. There are some exceptions, but again, 95% of the time it will be this. Hai. This is which kanji?
Yasuko.
Yasumi. Yasumi. And this is?
Shikanji.
Ki, nichi, jitsu, ha. So many readings are there. This is an onyomi compound, right? So we have to use onyomi plus onyomi. Kore, onyomi wa nan desu ka? Kyu. Here you have two onyomi, jitsu and nichi. In this case, we're going to use jitsu. Mostly, it's fixed. It's always jitsu. So, kyu, jitsu. What does kyu jitsu mean? You can actually guess.
Holiday.
Holiday, right? It's a day off, right? This is yasumu to rest. A day of rest is kyujitsu or holiday, a day off. It's a more formal word than yasumi.
Hon.
Hon. Hon, right? It has that one extra stroke there. So hon is one of those rare cases. Onyomi is also an independent word. What is hon? Book, right? Exactly.
Gakko.
Gakko, right? Gaku and ko. Gaku is study. Ko means? What does ko mean?
Exam.
Institution, right? It's a place of learning or institution. Gaku is study and this is institution. So a place where you study. 学校。学校は何ですか？スクールですね。はい。早川日本語学校ですね。This place is 早川日本語学校。Actually, the full name is and 文化センター。はい。水
Mizu.
Mizu, very good. Sui is onyomi. Only in compound words you will see that. This is kunyomi. Mizu means water. Very good. Which day of the week? Wednesday. Great. It's the first kanji and
Shigatsu.
hi. Shigatsu. It's a special case where you have to use the shi pronunciation. Yon plus gatsu or getsu, but here it's month. So precise month. Shigatsu, April. Right? Great.
Chisai.
これは小さいですね。小さい。音読み or 訓読み
Kunyomi.
So this is 訓読み, right? Because kanji plus hiragana to make one word. And the previous case, 音読み or 訓読み
Onyomi.
音読み Exactly. You saw 13?
Non-name.
That's the nani kanji and the hito kanji. You have to use onyomi. Nan, ni. Nan, ni. Great.
Chita.
Very good. Shita, right? This is the shita kanji. Down, below, lower part.
Nihon.
Hi. Nihon. Onyomi desu ka? Kunyomi desu ka? Onyomi. desu ne? Two kanji. Mostly it will be onyomi.
Iku.
It's from yesterday, right? Yeah, very good. It's the iku kanji. What does iku mean? To go, right? Iku. What's the polite form?
Ikimasu.
Ikimasu, right? Which group? First group or second group?
First group.
First group, right? Anything that does not end in ru, it's automatically first group. You don't have to think. If it doesn't end in ru, first group. How do you change first group into polite form?
Two things.
Change the u sound to u sound. Ikimasu. Ikimasu. Great. So iku, ikimasu.
Go.
That's a coincidence. Okay. This is go. As in language. See it in Nihongo. Mainly, this is onyomi or kunyomi?
Onyomi.
Actually, I gave it so that you don't have it too easy. Go reading will come only in compound words. So technically, that is onyomi. I just gave it independently here, but you never say go on its own. It's usually combined. If I go Nihongo, it would have been so easy, so I gave it alone. Yes.
Namae.
Namae. Namae. Now, this is a rare example of kunyomi compound. Right? Actually, this is me is the onyomi. Go zen is the onyomi. You don't say me zen. We say namae. Kunyomi plus kunyomi. What is namae? Name. Yeah, of course. Very good. Fire. What's the reading?
Ka.
He or ka? Which is the onyomi? Ka. Kayobi. That's the onyomi. He is kunyomi. You say it on its own. Fire. Ju.
Ichi.
Jugo. Nichi. Jugo nichi means 25th? 15, right? 10, 5. That's it. 15th date. Actually, it's not really written this way much anymore, but this is just so you practice.
Yes to me.
Very good. It's the rest kanji, ne? Yasumi. Onyomi desu ka? Kunyomi desu ka? Very good. Kunyomi, ne? Kanji plus hiragana to make one word. So it's kunyomi, yasumi. In the previous case, onyomi or kunyomi? Onyomi, ne? Onyomi. Ju, go, nichi. They're all onyomi.
So,
Hi? Onyomi or kunyomi? Which should we give? Ah, yes, correct.
Shiro.
In the case of Ushiro, when you write it, it will appear like this. When you write just the kanji, you have one kunyomi, that is ato. Ato. Ato means later or after. Shukudai o ato ni shimasu. I'll do my homework later. So you have this other kunyomi. Onyomi. Do you remember the onyomi? Ushiro is also kunyomi. So ato kanji stands on its own. It's kunyomi. Ushiro, kanji followed by hiragana. Also kunyomi. You have an onyomi. Yes. You don't know any words just yet, but for example, you don't know this yet. But for example, in such a word, you would use onyomi. This word, we read it as go-go. We'll be seeing it next week in lesson 10. So this is just apo for now. Got it? Mata. Dozo.
Kyo.
This is a special reading, right? Like Otona. We don't use the reading of the kanji. We just have to memorize it. What's the reading? And it means? Today, right? Kyo, elongated sound, meaning today. Very good. Just a few more. Hi. Narimashita. Everybody's used to it. Tanaka.
Tanaka.
As in the name, right? A Japanese name. There are some other Japanese names that you will see this kanji very frequently occurring in. For example, you know this and this. What's the first one? Hon. And this is? Ha. But yes. Read as? Honda. That ha sound becomes da sound. Honda. Of course, you know the car brand. It's also a very, very common Japanese surname. Yes? Honda. Ne? Honda-san. Hai. Very good.
Boku.
Ki or moku, which is the onyomi. Onyomi. Moku, ne? The one that comes in compound words will be the onyomi. So for the days of the week, remember it using the names of the days of the week. Those are always onyomi. So mokuyobi. So moku is onyomi. Kunyomi is ki. When it's used on its own, you read it as ki. Hi.
In 25th, Honda,
Hi.
like for social, it is Hondana, right?
Hondana, yes.
So is there a kanji for now?
The dana is a separate kanji there. Hondana. This is actually read as thana. Thana means shelf. The sound changes to dana here. So hondana, it's a totally different kanji. In fact, now if you look at it, it's not difficult for you to learn. It has three radicals, right? Three parts. One is, actually, maybe it's a bit small. It's a tree radical. It's a tree radical, moon, and moon. Yeah, two moon radicals. Now, the meaning and all, by that time, it'll be a little difficult to get it. Actually, tree, because to make a shelf, you need wood, right? And the moon radical has a meaning of like body of something, a physical shape of something. So it's like you're building a shelf. It also looks a bit like a shelf when you use it. So anyway, this is hondana. On its own, the kanji is read as hana. It means shelf. Good question, though. Hi. Dewa. We already saw 26, right? Yes.
On gets.
It's kyo. Kyo has to have nichi, right? Kanji. Which kanji is this? Getsu kanji, right? What is the onyomi? Kon, right? Kon getsu. Kon getsu. Kon getsu means this month. Yes, kon, ima. Ima is kunyomi, kon is onyomi. Okay, just a couple more. Naka, of course, everyone knows this one.
Sensei.
Sensei, very good. Last one.
Chikai.
Kai.
Chikai. What is chikai?
Near.
That's chisai. Hi. Yes, nearby. Close. Chikai. Of course, there are other chikais in Japanese. There's also a chigai. So you have to be very careful, right? Kanji are helpful with that. So chikai, onyomi desu ka, kunyomi desu ka? Kunyomi ne. Very good. This is kunyomi because you complete it with hiragana. The previous case. Onyomi. Naka?
Naka.
Onyomi?
Kunyo.
Onyomi ne. Kunyomi. Onyomi. Do you remember the onyomi?
Chu.
Yes. Chu is the onyomi. Actually, this you haven't seen it yet. We'll change it to something else. Yes.
Not the same.
Chugakko, chugakse. When you combine a lot of kanji, you're going to be using that onyomi. Very soon we'll see this. Sorry. Hi. Goku. Here. So this is chu. This kanji is read as goku, which is actually koku. Koku means country. Country. Chugoku. Do you remember? China. Exactly. Chugoku is China. So you write it with this kanji. The middle country. I mean, that was their name for themselves. They would call themselves that. And then that name went to Korea and Japan. So Korea and Japan also called them that. Hai, otsukare-sama deshita. Kanji wa daijoubu desu ka? Yes? Feeling better? A little? Yes. Good. Online no minasan, kanji wa daijoubu desu ka?
Daijoubu desu.
Daijoubu desu.
Hai, yokatta desu. Dewa, lesson 8. Before we get right back immediately into this kaiwa, as I mentioned, there's a little bit left that we still have to look at. Just a few adjectives and counter suffixes. So in adjectives in this lesson, we're going to see some na adjectives for a change. Just for some variety. Yes? Ai, kore wa nan desu ka? What does it say? Machi. Ne, machi. Hi, city, town, machi. Ne, both are okay. We can use city, town. Hi, dozo. Please read it.
Shizukana.
Hi. Ah, Shizukana. Right? Shizukana means silent. It is a na adjective. Right? So if you want to say a silent town, a quiet town, you can say
Shizukana.
Hi. Shizukana.
Machi.
Shizukana machi. So this is a silent town. You would say? How would you say it? This place.
Koko.
Kana machi desu.
Koko. Ne. Koko.
Koko wa shizukana machi desu.
Koko wa shizukana machi desu. This is a silent town. Alternatively, you can also say this town is silent. Kono machi wa?
Kono machi wa shizuka desu. Shizuka desu.
Shizukana machi. You will use na only if you're adding some noun after shizuka. If there's no noun, you don't have to add the na. Right? That's the property of na adjectives. Shizukana machi desu or kono machi wa shizuka desu. Hi. Okay. Opposite of shizuka, we've actually seen one opposite already. Hi. Very good. We saw urusai. はい。
Now I checked, I'm a little bit getting confused.
はい。
Like, should we use it for town, places and all?
Shizuka, you can use it for anything that's silent. There's no limitation that it should only be town or city or a place. So a person who's silent or anything you can say silent, it's fine. Like I have a computer, it doesn't make any sound, right? Some computers are very noisy, some are very quiet. Shizuka na pasokon desu. So you can use it to describe anything that's quiet or silent. It need not be a city or a town. This is just an example. 大丈夫ですか?
I checked the sensei, but now I checked the importance.
Again, it depends. If you want to use this meaning, then you have to use that na adjective. So it's not like na adjectives have to be used in particular sentences. If you want to convey that meaning, then you choose that adjective and you use it. It just happens that some are na adjective, some are e adjective. There's no rule. Here, I have to use na adjective. If you want to say convenient, the word for convenient happens to be a na adjective. So you have to use na adjective. That's all. There's no fixed other rule other than that. So silent, convenient, famous, for all of these things, we don't have any other word. We're going to use the na adjective. That's all. いいですか? So the opposite we saw for silent was urusai. Urusai is an e adjective, right? Urusai. It's an a sound before the e, so you know it's e adjective. But urusai has a very negative connotation. If you're going to describe it, it's like loud or noisy in a negative way. You do have a way of saying loud in a positive way, that is to say, a lively place, right? A place with a lot of hustle bustle in a good way. It's pleasant. Some people like crowds, right? So this is a very positive word for that. Nigiyaka na. Nigiyaka. Nigiyaka na means lively. So conversely, if you want to say, this is a lively town. Yes. ここは賑やかな町です. Or you can say this town is この町は賑やかです. This town is lively. So again, if you want to express lively, you have to pick this. But if you want to say loud in a bad way, like, okay, you come from a really small town and you really like how peaceful it is there, and you come to a big, noisy town like Chennai, then you might feel, Chennai wa urusai desu. Urusai machi desu. That's a negative way. This is a positive way. Some people like lively places, right? With a lot of hustle and bustle. Now, one last na adjective. First, kore wa nan desu ka? Ie. It's a house. Yes, but it's not just a regular house. It's a very fancy looking house. How are we going to describe it? This is ri, right? Rippana.
Rippana.
Rippana means magnificent or majestic, right? Very proper and it really impresses you. Something that impresses you can be defined as rippana something. So for example, this is a
Majestic house.
yeah, exactly. Rippana ie desu. Ne? Kore wa rippana ie desu. Or this house is majestic. How do you say? This house is majestic. Kono ie wa rippa desu. Rippa desu. Example, Chennai no eki. Chennai no eki wa nan desu ka? Eki wa nan desu ka?
Railway station.
Hi. Eki is railway station. Oh, I'm sorry, my English is going. Hi. Eki is station. So, Chennai no eki wa yumei desu ne. Yumei desu. It's very famous. Chennai Central Station. Ne? Eki wa yumei desu. Rippana eki desu. It's a very, well, not on the inside, on the outside, it's a magnificent looking railway station. Rippana eki desu. So you can use this to describe anything that you find very impressive kind of grand, magnificent looking, right? The appearance is like that. So mostly we use it for buildings and structures. You can use it for other things, but it should have that much splendor to it. Daijoubu desu ka? So it's 3 more na adjectives. One is silent, nan desu ka? Shizuka na. Another is lively, right? Nigiyaka na. And last is Vipana. Very good. Now, counter suffixes in this lesson, we're going to see a couple of them, right? Just 2 more. What are the suffixes we have seen so far? We've seen 4, right? Hi. What do we use it for? Vehicles and? Yes, vehicles and machines. What else? Hi, nin or ri. That is for people. What else? Ko for? Yes. Small things. And? Yes. Mai for? Flat objects. That is thin and flat objects. Yes, these are the 4 that we know so far. We're adding 2 more, right? 1 is the counter suffix that we use for books and book-like objects. In other words, anything that's printed and bound, you can use this counter suffix. For example, you go to the Xerox shop, you get some printing and then you bind it. That can also be defined with this counter suffix. What is the counter suffix?
Satsu.
Satsu. Satsu. You can use it for hon, noto, jisho, nado. All of these objects you can use. When you count them, kyokasho, you should use this counter suffix, satsu. Satsu has a kanji, all of them have a kanji. It's a little complex. You'll learn it at a higher level. Now, when we first started counter suffixes, I mentioned that counters that start with these sounds, they tend to get double consonant for some numbers.
168.
Yes. These numbers tend to be kind of exception numbers. 1, 6, 8, sometimes 3 and 10. So satsu begins with sa, right? So you're going to see that pattern here. 1, 8, and 10 will have a double consonant sound. So you can read the first one.
Issatsu.
Issatsu. Issatsu is 1 book, right? 2, nisatsu. 3 satsu. 4,
Yonsatsu.
yonsatsu.
Gosatsu.
6 satsu.
Rokusatsu. Nanasatsu.
8 satsu.
Hassatsu.
This is 8 satsu.
Hassatsu.
9,
Gyusatsu.
9 satsu.
Jusatsu.
Again, it's just satsu. Just satsu.
Jusatsu.
So, issatsu, hassatsu, and jussatsu. You have to be careful. Anytime they appear in one's digit, you have to pronounce it like this. Like for 11, 21, 31, 561, everywhere it's going to be ending with this double consonant sound. Similar for 8. And any number 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, all of those. Nijussatsu, tanjussatsu, and so on. So satsu is for books. Anytime you want to count books. So if you want to say there are 28 textbooks.
Niju hassatsu.
Hi. There are 28 textbooks. What should you start the sentence with? textbook, right? What you're defining. Kyokasho ga neiju hassatsu arimasu.
Arimasu.
Basically, the structure is of this object, we have this many numbers. That's the structure we're using. So, kyokasho, ne, kyokasho ga of textbooks, 28 satsu arimasu. The other counter suffix is for, this is a bit tricky, it's for cylindrical shaped objects, right? Long and cylindrical, thin cylindrical things. Yes, thin, like pencils and pens and like umbrellas and poles and sticks and things like that. You also use it for like weapons, like swords. I mean, we don't use them anymore, but they used to use it. So examples in modern day would be these. The counter suffix, nan desu ka? Ma, is that ma? Ha, is it ha? Ho. Hon, what is this? Hon kanji, right? The book kanji. But it doesn't have the meaning of book here. It doesn't have any of its meanings here. It loses all of its meaning and it just becomes a counter suffix. They gave completely random counter suffixes for most things. I'll tell you that up front. It's like they needed to attach something. They just picked a random kanji and attached it. That's how it will be. So, hon, pon, bon, when it appears after a number, it is a counter suffix. And they're counting thin and long objects. Right? As I mentioned, ka, sa, ta, and ha, pa, ba. Anything in these sounds will have some double consonant. So can you guess the first one, like the first one in number? Now double consonant can only happen. So if the counter suffix starts with a ha sound, it will change to a pa sound or a ba sound. For example, dozo. Ippon. Ippon. One in number. Enpitsu ga ippon arimasu. Pencils, I have one in number. Ki ga two in number. Nihon arimasu. Now, nihon is the same as? Of course, one will look like this, the other will look like this. Or like this. Yes, the way we write it will be very different. This is Nihon, Japan. This is Nihon as in two of an object. Two of an object of this shape. Three. San. Bon. San. Bon. So when a counter suffix starts with ha, for ichi, roku, hachi, and ju, it'll change to pa. For san and nan, it'll change to ba. This is a pattern, right? So you can see san and nan, be ba. For ichi, roku, hachi, and ju, it'll become pa. You will learn one or two other counter suffixes starting with ha, so you'll see this pattern again. So san bon. Pen ga san bon arimasu. There are 3 pens. 4. Yonhon. Simple. Yonhon. 5. Gohon. 6. Roppon. Roppon. Right? Roppon. Basically, this rule, this kind of thing exists because it's hard to pronounce otherwise. Rokupon. It's a lot of effort, right? Roppon. It's easier. There's less movement in the tongue. 7. Nanahon. 8. Hapon. 9. 9. 9. Yes. Kyuhon. 9 is Q and 10 is Juppon. Juppon. Right. Juppon. And lastly, Nambon. 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 So the main thing here is we've learned 2 counter suffixes. The first one is
Satsu.
Satsu. Satsu. We use it for books. Second one is hon. We use it for cylindrical objects. The main challenge will be don't use hon for books. Yes? Your every instinct will tell you, you count books with hon. Don't. It's very confusing, I know. It's just a matter of practice though. Count books using satsu and you will get used to it. We'll do,
Can you use she, phone or both?
no, we always use yon. Always. Most places it's yon. She is very, very rare. So shall we practice a little bit? You have to use the right suffix and count the number correctly. You want to say there are 4 dictionaries. Dictionary wa nan desu ka? Jisho. Jisho ga? Fantastic. Jisho ga 4 satsu arimasu. Hi, how many are there? I think there's like 10, 9 or 10. 9? 10. 10. There are 10 books. Books. Hon ga 10 satsu arimasu. There are 6 notebooks. Noto ga 6 satsu arimasu. So for satsu, you don't have roku changing. That's only for ba. For S, mostly roku won't change. Ichi, hachi, and ju will change. Roku satsu arimasu. Noto ga 6 satsu arimasu. There's 1 pencil. 1. Enpitsu ga 1 arimasu. So of course, in your textbook, on page 59, you have the tabular column. So if you're struggling, you can check that. Pen wa, o pen ga 7 hon. Very good. 7 hon arimasu. Pen ga 7 hon. De, ki ga 3 bon arimasu. Ki ga 3 bon arimasu. How do you ask the question? How many pencils are there? Enpitsu ga, sorry, question, right? Enpitsu wa 何本 arimasu ka? Books. How many are there? Hon wa 何 satsu arimasu. Very good. Hon wa 何冊ありますか? Hi. Sorry. Give the answer. There's 1 notebook. Noto wa 1 satsu arimasu ne. Noto ga 1冊あります. There are 4 trees. Ki ga 4 satsu hon. Which one is it? Hon, right? 4 hon arimasu. How many dictionaries are there? Jisho ga 何 satsu arimasu ka? Jisho wa 何冊ありますか? So when you put them together, you have to remember it apart. Satsu for books, hon, ton, bon for cylindrical, long, thin objects. Daijoubu desu ka? Then that will be all for lesson 8.
Can you use su for counter suffix for counting things?
You can use tsu for just about anything. Anything. Abstract things, physical objects, any way, any shape. You can use tsu for anything. You just cannot count beyond 9. That's the only problem. They even use tsu for like age, big objects, small objects, everything. So if you don't know what to use tsu. If it's more than 10, then you have to remember the right counter. Any questions? 大丈夫ですか? では、 Kyokasho o mimasu. We'll look at the textbook. Before we read the conversation, we'll just look at the other materials. So if you come down, of course, you have the kanji. After the kanji, right before rather, there's a couple of sentences. Hai. Ii desu ka? It's illustrating the difference between ikimasu and kimasu, right? You use ikimasu to go a place that you're not there yet. You use kimasu when you're talking about coming to a place, right? Someone coming closer to you and so on, or you coming home and things like that. It depends on where you're located. Yes? So ikimasu and kimasu, we have to be careful. Ikimasu, which group is it? Ichi group desu ne. It's iku. It's not ending in ru. It's ichi group. What about kimasu? Kimasu? I group desu ka? What is the plain form? Kiru? Which verb is this? To come.
Kuru.
Kuru. Kuru is? It's the exception group verb, right? You have two verbs in that group. They are suru and kuru, shimasu and kimasu. You just have to memorize this. You have to know the group verbs memorized. Otherwise, it will be difficult. Hi, please memorize this. It's only 2. Like some languages, they make you miserable. They give you like 16 exception verbs. It's just 2, okay? We can learn this. Hi. So just a brief illustration of how to change from plain to polite form. These are all first group. This is second group, right? It's just given the hyphen, so you know you have to remove that and you have to add this. Please don't write with the hyphen when you write it. You have the tabular column with the counter suffix. It says, can you just read this? Hi, kazoe. Yes. Kazoe kata. Kazoeru means to count. Kazoeru. To count, it's a verb. Can you guess which group? Ichi group or ni group? Very good. It's ni group. How do you know?
Before A.
It's ru ending, and the sound before ru is a sound. Ni group. So what's the polite form? Kazoemasu. Kazoemasu. Kazoemasu means to count. Now this word is made up of kazoe plus kata. Kata means method or way. So it's like the way or method of counting. It's a compound word. We'll learn about all those things later. You don't have to know this grammar just now. But since it's here in the lesson, I mentioned it. So kazoe kata, the way to count, the method of counting. Hi. So in Hyogen, we have a few things that we saw in the lesson. We saw this towards the end yesterday, right? Shika plus arimasu. Negative form, right? There is only, or there is nothing but. Nothing but or nothing except. We learned many uses of de particle. Do you remember them? One is, actually this is condition. Like Zen Buddha. This is? Hi.
Sorry to interrupt. Can we use to this?
Oh, please go ahead. This one is location marker for action happening in that location, right? When they use ni? Destination and existence and purpose. So you have three uses for ni. Marking the destination of your action, marking the purpose of your action, and marking the location of existence, right? Tsukue no ue ni hon ga arimasu. But kyoshitsu de hon o yomimasu. Toshoshitsu de hon o yomimasu. It's a place, you're marking a place where you do an action. You're not simply existing there, breathing there, you're also doing some action. Hai, kore wa nan desu ka? Hai. Onegai shimasu. Onegai shimasu. Hai, it means please, right? Hai. Kudasai. Kudasai means to give. Give me. It's when the speaker uses kudasai to someone else, you're asking that person to give it to you. You usually don't ask kudasai and tell it, give to somebody else. Usually it's to you. You'll learn more about that in detail in N4 or CJAT 2 level. But anyway, when you go to a shop and you're doing some shopping, or go to a restaurant, you ask for an order, you can say kohi o kudasai. Or enpitsu o kudasai. So object, whatever you want, o kudasai. Everybody knows? Dozo. Here you go, when you hand something over. And you know these two? Satsu and hon, counter suffix. And I'll scroll up a bit. Hi. I want everyone to read that. Kekko desu. When it appears in this form, precisely at the end of a sentence, usually it will be preceded by iie kekko desu. No, thank you. Actually, it means I'm good. I'm fine as I am. Iie kekko desu. No, thank you. I'm good. I don't need anything. So when someone offers you something and you want to politely decline that offer, this is the way to do it in Japanese, right? They say, oh, how about, would you like another helping of rice? And you're full, right? Iie kekko desu. I'm good, thank you, right? So there's another way to use kekko. It's before adjectives. So when you put kekko before an adjective, it has the meaning of quite. Kekko takai. Kekko takai. It's quite expensive. And you know, very. What's very? No, totemo takai. Very expensive. So what you want to say is milder than very, but it's not just expensive. It's a bit more than just expensive, but it's not as bad as very expensive. This is somewhere between takai and totemo takai. Kekko takai desu. You can use it as an adverb. Hai. Kekko nagai desu. How was the movie? How was the movie? And you want to say it's a 4-hour movie. Kekko nagai desu. Or 5-hour movie. Totemo nagai desu. It's very long. 大丈夫ですか? はい。じゃあ、はい。There's a couple of new vocabulary before we proceed. はい。We already know this one. 何ですか? 買い物. This type of compound is very common in Japanese. You take a verb, not all verbs, some verbs, remove the masu. Right? Polite form of the verb, remove the masu and add mono. It becomes a new word, a noun. This is a noun. The meaning depends, it varies. So kaimasu plus mono, kai mono is shopping, buying things. You also have tabe mono, which is, mono means thing, yes. Mono is thing, object. So you also have tabemono. You have tatemono. Tatemono means building. So tate, it comes from a verb to mean, which means to build. So a thing which is built is building, tatemono. So there are many such examples. I'm just giving these three for now. Hai. Of course, you know these. You don't know this kanji yet. You'll learn it soon. So don't mind the kanji. Hai. Sorry, please read it. Ikimasu and kimasu. This is iki, kimasu. To go and to come. Hai. Chennai. Of course, it's written right there in English. But hi. Rippon. Is building. So you also have tatemono. Tatemono is the Japanese word. Biru is foreign word. You can use both. It doesn't matter. Rippon building in Chennai. Hi. Dozo. Please read this. Ikura. Desu ka? It's a question, right? How much? How much does it cost? Of course, you know this. Rupee. There's a ballpoint pen. Please note the spelling. So when you're doing online exercises, I see many people making mistakes with katakana words because you're thinking in English and you're trying to do the spelling in Japanese. So it ends up wrong. You have to learn the Japanese spelling. Right? So board pen, where the elongation is. Super. It's two elongations. Super. Tatemono, I just mentioned. You know this also? Rippana. Rippana. It's a na adjective, right? Magnificent, splendid. After rippana. It's an alternative to hai. It means the same thing. There's no difference. Hai. They both mean yes. After that? Nigiyakana. Nigiyakana. Then? Omise. Omise is a shop or a restaurant. And of course, this is place no naka. Inside a place. Hai. We saw this yesterday. Zenbude. In total, right? Totally. Hako, a box. Hi, this is a mouthful. Please try it. One second.
What is a tape recorder?
That's a good question. It's not important anymore. It's not important anymore. A tape recorder was what we used before we had CDs and MP3 players. For audio, they used to record audio in cassettes. You must have you heard of cassette? Tape recorder is what you use to record on a cassette. So another word for cassette is tape. It's completely irrelevant anymore. So tape recorder. Some people like to collect old technology, right? Ato. Ato. This ya is a suffix. So in Japanese, often the name of a shop, that is what kind of shop it is, it will be that thing plus ya. For example, the word for vegetables is, well, we'll give another example. Something simpler. Bread. Bread in Japanese is pan. Pan. Right? Pan. Pan. So pan plus ya. Panya is a bread shop or a bakery. You also have ramen ya. Ramen, noodles, right? Ramenya is a noodle shop. Nikuya, Niku is meat. Nikuya is a meat shop. So you have many words like that. Ya will only appear as a suffix. You don't use it on your own. So can you guess if it will be onyomi or kunyomi? Suffix. Suffixes will generally be onyomi. 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 Usually. Hi. Kaimasu. Yomimasu.
Yomimasu. Kamirgo. Mata.
Mada. So sometimes if somebody asks you, did you eat? Have you had your breakfast? And you want to say, not yet. I still have not. Mada desu. Mada desu. Mada desu. Hi.
Will be misunderstood like means inexclusive items and this.
No, it mostly won't get confused. It'll be clear because you're combining it with the shop name. So it's like Nikuya. So that will come. If you're making a list, usually it will be clear in the sentence, like what I eat or what I don't eat. But this is a place, right? So for example, Nikuya de kaimasu. I will buy at the meat shop. So that will make it clear. Hi.
It's a bit cold over here.
Hi. I'll just adjust it a little. I'll also see if I can change the swing. I've reduced the fan also. Is it okay? Hi. Hi. Daijoubu desu ka? Shall we go into the conversation? What is the title of the conversation? Kaimono ni iku. So you have characters today going shopping together, and they happen to be Suzuki-san and Ashok-san. So as usual, I would like a volunteer from online and a volunteer from here, and we'll exchange and read lines. So I think one volunteer for Suzuki-san's first couple of lines in person, and one volunteer online for Ashok-san's couple of lines. Yes, Suzuki-san, somebody here who has not read before. Next time. I think some of you are getting to read it pretty often, so would you like to? Hi. And somebody online, I'll come back, we can do next one. Hi. Online, is there anybody who wants to volunteer you have not read before? Or I will just call out a name. Hi. ありがとうございます。よくあることなんですね。はい。カメラ大丈夫ですか？はい。よし。はい。サンディープさん、いますか？いませんね。はい。シーコムルンさん、いますか？ Are you there?
Hi.
Hi. Can I request you to take up Ashok-san's lines?
Hi.
Okay, great. So then we can get started. Hi. Those all. It keeps falling off, so it's okay.
Suzuki-san. Ashok-san, 立派な建物は何ですか？
あれが日本ビルです。
そうですか？
に
ぎやか。
にぎやかです。ですね。
Hi, great. Actually, I think you can continue with a couple more lines. They were very short. Hi, Dozo, please continue.
目線の中。鈴木さん。すみません。そのノートはいくらですか？
はい。
一冊。
一冊12ルペです。
4冊ください。あと、そのボールペンお願いします。これは、
これは、一本6ルペです。
はい、great. ありがとうございました。お疲れ様です。はい、we'll just quickly review. What are they? First, they're talking about Ripon building, right? Actually, they're on their way to the shop. So, Ashok-san, 立派な建物は何ですか? What does it mean?
What is that?
What is that?
What is that?
Magnificent looking building. What is that? Splendid looking building. He says, あれは Ripon building です。That's the Ripon building. そうですか? Is that so? 賑やかですね。It's so, 賑やか is lively. That's a very polite way of putting it. It's so lively, isn't it? Now they have reached the shop. Mise no naka. What does Suzuki-san ask for?
Excuse me. How much is this?
Yes. How much is that notebook? ね、すみません。That notebook はいくらですか? How much is it? ね、He says, はい、一冊12ルピーです。One notebook is 12 rupees. It's kind of outdated numbers. So this is mise no hito. Mise no hito is the person of the shop, the shopkeeper, right? One notebook is 12 rupees. What does Suzuki-san say? 4冊
4冊
ください。
さい。
あと、
あと、
そのボールペン、お願いします。So give me 4, right? Give me 4 books and then that ball pen also, please give it to me. ね、お願いします。So あと is like then and then. ね、ください、give me. You can use both. ください、お願いします。We can use whichever is appropriate. これは1本6ルピーです。That's the weight of the ball pen and it's a cylindrical object. So, pon, pon, bone counter suffix. ね、one is 6 rupees. ね、はい。So let's come back. I'd like a couple of volunteers for Suzuki-san's next few lines and Mise no Hito's next few lines. Yes, Suzuki-san. Maybe these 3. And Mise no Hito plus maybe Ashok-san also. Hi, would you like to? Did you read last time? I don't remember. まだですか? どうぞ。Hi, I would like a volunteer online.
Suzuki-san.
Jayaprakash-san, いますか? Are you there? Selva Praveen-san, いますか?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi, so can I request you to pick up Mise no Hito, these 2 lines? We can start with Suzuki-san. どうぞ。
3本ください。全部で66ルピーですね。
はい。道場どうもありがとうございますした。
Thanking him for it. Here you go. Why is the shopkeeper thanking him?
その箱はその箱は何ですか？
What is
Yes. Tape.
Tape.
tape
Record.
recordo
Recorder.
desu? Ikago desu ka?
How much is the tape recorder? How?
How many?
Ikago desu ka?
How about it? Are you interested? Do you like it? What is Suzuki-san?
He.
Yes.
Hako desu. Hako desu. Hako.
Suzuki-san?
Hi.
Ado
Ado.
nani wo gaimasu ga?
Hi, Dozo. You can try that. It's a bit long.
本屋で日本語の本を買います。学校の図書室にはタミル語と英語の本しかありません。
So the pause here.
So
Hi. Do you want to try to read? It's a little nagai desu. But it's the last line. Dozo, you can finish it.
Sodosu ga
So desu ga.
watashi wa
英語の
本を
読みます。
読みます。
日本語のまだ難しいです。
またまだ難しい
です。
です。
はい、お疲れ様でした。大丈夫ですか？Hi. Great. That was pretty smooth. Okay, so we'll just quickly review those. Hi, どうですか? Over here, right? So, これは1本6ルピーです。3本ください。That is, give me 3 in number, right? 全部で66ルピーですね。It's totally 66 rupees, right? Right? Correct? Isn't it? Because Suzuki-san is the customer, right? He's done the math himself and he's confirming it with the shopkeeper. Yes, here you go. はい、どうぞ。どうもありがとうございました。Thank you so much for your, you're giving me patronage, you're buying my things. So, その箱は何ですか? What's that box? 箱 is box. ね、テープレコーダーです。It's a tape recorder. いかがですか? Are you interested? Would you like it? How about it? いえ、結構です。No, thank you. I'm fine. I don't want it. So meanwhile, Ashok-san is saying, Suzuki-san, Apple. Next. Then, after that, what will you buy? What are you going to buy? 何を買いますか? 本屋で日本語の本を買います。What does it mean? I'll buy a Japanese book at the bookshop. ね、本屋 bookstore. We already saw this one, right? 学校の図書室にはタミル語と英語の本しかありません。What does that mean? Exactly. Only Tamil and English books are there in my school library. There's nothing but Tamil and English. But I can't read Tamil or English. I need Japanese. So he's going to buy. So Ashok-san says, そうです。I see. 私は英語の本を読みます。What does it mean? I read English language books. 日本語の本はまだ難しいです。Japanese books are still difficult for me. ね、難しい is difficult. So you can of course use mada along with keiyoshi, adjectives. Mada muzukashii, mada takai. That phone was released last year, but it's still expensive. Mada takai desu. You can also use mada with verbs, but we'll see that after some time. Hai, otsukaresama deshita. Lesson 8の会話は大丈夫ですか？はい。はい、オンラインの皆さん、レッスン8の会話は大丈夫ですか？
大丈夫です。
はい。はい、どうぞ。You can read this. So shitsumon is question, gimon is doubt. So I might ask you, shitsumon ya gimon nado ga arimasu ka? Do you have questions or doubts? What can you say? Iie? Arimasen. You don't have to say it. I'm just saying. If you don't have doubts, you can say iie, arimasen. Daijoubu desu. Hai. But of course, if you have, hai, arimasu, you can ask me the question. Hai, shitsumon ya gimon nado arimasu ka? Arimasen ne. Hai. Hai, dewa, chotto. We have a little time left, so I thought we will just get started with lesson 9, kanji. Kanji. If we have some time after that, we may look at something else in lesson 9, but we may not have time. So we'll see how long kanji takes. So please take out your kanji workbook. I skipped. Hi, I hope the PowerPoint is visible online.
Hi.
So we'll start with lesson 9 kanji. Lesson 9. So you have, so it's starting to get a little complex at this stage, right? So you'll also have to start putting in a little more.
Sumimasen, kanji is kanji is very mijikai. It's very tough now. It's getting tough.
Muzukashi, yes. It
Muzukashi.
will.
So can we survive with hiragana and katakana itself by reading the entire thing? Is it possible or it is not possible?
So it depends on what you need it for. So if you're going to work in Japan, you will have to read documents and emails and things like that. It may be difficult to manage without kanji. But if you're just going to use Japanese for conversation, you may not need kanji all that much. But mostly everything in Japan is in Japanese. Everything. I mean, words are there in English too, but most small things, a little document, a newspaper, everything will be written in kanji. So it's better to be comfortable with at least the basic kanji. Ideally, you should know about 1,000 or 1,500. But if you're just starting out, knowing at least few hundred, 200, 300 will definitely make life easier for you. You will struggle more if you don't know kanji. As I said, if you have to actually type things and read things, kanji is a must. But if you're really not doing any of that, maybe you can manage. But it's risky to not know kanji and just rely on dictionaries or Google because it changes, right? The way you read a kanji changes in different situations. So it's better to know. Hi.
Hi.
When you go to Japan, right, say, but the newspapers will be written in a complex kanji or basic kanji?
Mostly complex kanji. So only if you start here, you can get to there. So it will be very complex. There are easy newspaper articles, like they're designed for Japanese children to read. So I usually share that towards the end of the course because right now it's still difficult. But towards the end of the course, I'll share a website link. It's a news website made in Japan by a news company for Japanese children. So it will have hiragana, katakana, and more basic kanji. It's also a way for Japanese children to learn how to read news. So that's a useful material for people like us. You can manage with things like that, but it's difficult. Unfortunately, kanji, ne? It's better to know kanji. You will struggle otherwise. You don't need to know like in detail, right? In early stages, we're learning all the strokes and everything that's so that your body kind of learns the way kanji work, the structure of kanji. As you proceed to higher levels, what will be important is, can you tell two similar looking kanji apart from each other? That will be the challenge when you proceed to higher levels. And that's enough. If you can read that kanji correctly, it's enough. Frankly speaking, you won't need to like write kanji anywhere. Even Japanese people don't use kanji. They don't write kanji much anymore, except maybe their name. They don't write. They all just type. They use computers, and computers tell you, right? You put it in hiragana, it changes to kanji. You don't have to type in kanji. But to be able to read things, to be able to communicate properly, it's better to know it. So I'm sorry to say that. I really wish there'll come a day where I can tell you kanji is not needed in Japan, but that day has not come yet.
Yeah. You are right, Sensei. Because when I speak to Japanese colleagues, they are also saying the latest younger generation, I think kanji, they are also struggling. They are saying that we also don't know kanji.
Yeah, they also say that. They're very polite about it. They keep saying even we don't use, or we really find it hard. But it's there in Japan, so they struggle, we also struggle. Maybe one day we can hope for a time without kanji. Let's see, like Korea, right? Korea used to have kanji. They got rid of it. Now everybody's happy there. So let's see. Hi. いいですか? 大丈夫ですか?
大丈夫です。
Hi. じゃあね. But as I said, we're going to do things to make it a little easier. So this is a bit divergent, but there's an admin person here who's very into learning kanji. It's kind of his specialization. He's probably the first person I've personally met who likes to learn kanji. So he finds using parts of kanji, the radicals, interesting. He also finds it interesting to connect kanji with each other, right? As you go to higher levels, connecting the parts of kanji. Oh, I saw this in that kanji, and they mean something similar in both kanjis. Those are helping him immensely. So those are techniques that will make it more interesting for you and also easier for you. So with that in mind, the very first kanji, we're going to use a technique to learn how to write it. But before that, let's read it. 音読みは何ですか? 音読みです。音読みは、はい。音読みは、an ね、an. It's seen in compound words. An example is 安全、安全な. It's a na adjective meaning safe, secure. You don't need to know this now. It's N4 level, but I'm just giving an example. It's onyomi of kanji plus onyomi of another kanji. Anzen na something. It's a safe or secure thing. Another rating is Yasui. This is what you need to know at this level. Yasui is, of course, cheap, inexpensive, right? So Yasui has this meaning. An has that meaning. Safe, peaceful, able to relax, right? All of those meanings. There are two kind of, it's a rare thing. Some kanji, onyomi and kunyomi, would be used for different things. So this kanji's meaning comes from this. This is supposed to be a roof. And this is the onna kanji. Yes, it's the kanji for woman. When you write this separately, you read it as woman. Now, the interesting thing about this is, if you look at this part closely, the woman part, there are 3 strokes, right? The first stroke, what does it look like? Ku. Ne, hiragana ku. Second stroke, just the second stroke. What does it look like? Katakana? No. Ne, katakana, no. And the last stroke is like ichi. Ne, ku, no, ichi. Has anyone heard this word, kunoichi? Kunoichi means, yeah, a female ninja, right? A female, specifically a woman who's a ninja. Okay, I don't know if it's a coincidence or what, but one hiragana, one katakana, and one kanji. It uses all three scripts to make this word, and it has that special meaning, kunoichi. This kanji doesn't have that meaning, but it's easy to remember it with that, right? Anybody who's a Naruto fan in here may have heard this word, or any ninja anime that you watch, you'll hear this. So that's an easy way to learn this kanji. So woman kanji is this, and when you put a roof on top, it's like saying she's safe in her home, right? She's safe, she has reached home safely, like that. So that's the original meaning of this kanji, to be safe, right? And where this cheap and inexpensive came from is still a bit unclear. Historically, I don't know, but maybe you can think of it like this woman manages her accounts at home. So she's always looking for cheap or inexpensive things. That's my grandmother. She's very excellent memory for prices. So it's a woman who's taking care of her accounts. Yasui, yasui. Please remember, yasu is the reading of the kanji. E is added afterwards as okurigana. It's hiragana that comes afterwards. The next one is a kanji for this verb. Taberu, tabemasu, right? To eat. Ka is the reading of the kanji. Beru is okurigana, right? It's a kunyomi. Onyomi wa nan desu ka? Shoku. Ne, shoku. There are many compound words with this word in it, with this reading in it. Shokuji means meal, like a meal. Have you had your meal? Shokuji. You have choshoku, chushoku, all that. So many words are there. It always has to do with food, basically. Choshoku is a very formal word for breakfast. Chushoku is a very formal word for lunch. So sometimes you have formal words and you have informal words. The informal word is asa gohan. Hi. Asa gohan means breakfast.
Hirugo.
Hi. Hiru gohan is lunch. Asa means morning. Gohan means rice or meal. Gohan is like rice or meal. Actually, rice, it became meal. So morning meal is breakfast. Hiru means noon. So hiru gohan means noon meal or lunch. Then you have ban gohan. So shoku also appears in compound kanji words. These are kind of exception words. We'll learn them later on. Now coming to the kanji of taberu, again you have a variant of this roof radical. So you have many different roof radicals. This is one of them. It looks like a hut, more like, right? And in the hut, it's supposed to depict a person sitting and holding their lunchbox, right? They're about to open it and eat their meal. It's a little hard to learn. You have to come top down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You want to finish in the bottom right corner, right, for this part. That will be the last stroke. Otherwise, you're basically moving from top to bottom. Go in the order that helps you proceed downwards. You shouldn't go down before finishing the upper strokes. Hai. Taberu, ne, shoku. I think there's like some famous anime, there's some food, shokugeki something. I forget. Yeah, I think that's the translation, Food Wars, right? So you'll see it in things like that too. The shoku there is probably also the shoku. Hai. Okay. Another E adjective kanji. Nan desu ka? Takai. Tall, high, expensive, right? Takai. Taka is the reading. E is written afterwards as hiragana. What about onyomi? Ko. We'll look at onyomi use first. Please read this. Ko. Ko. This is a different ko. That's a different ko. Koko means high school. So a student of Koko is Kokose. Kokose. So high school is the only one that doesn't use the word gaku in it. This is because the system of high school was very different from the system of elementary school and middle school in Japan. It is not compulsory education, right? You have to take exams, you have to apply. If you don't do it, you may never end up studying in high school. So it's possible for a person not to study in high school in Japan. So Koko is a bit special, and Kokose is a student of high school. This kanji basically depicts a tall building, and you're moving top down, right? You can think of these as the windows of that building. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. You already know how to write all of these, right? And here you come around with the enclosure and then the square inside. Hai. Takai. Ko. The next is the kanji for, well, now we learned 1 to 10. The next thing is 100, right? Up until 99, you don't need another kanji. This is the next kanji you need. What is the reading? Hyaku. Only one reading. It's the onyomi. But you use it everywhere. Hyaku. Hyaku. If you turn it around, it looks like 100. So you can remember it with that. Hyaku. Please don't lose the stroke. Hyaku. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 大丈夫ですか? So 200, 300, all of that. It's same kanji ですね. They don't use kanji all that much anymore for numbers, but you may see it in some traditional documents here and there. And the way they write the year in Japanese, in really traditional places, it's different. So of course we say 2024, 2024, Nisei 24, we say that. But there's also a different way of counting years according to the person who is currently in control of Japan, that is the emperor. And whenever there's a new emperor, they change the name of the jidai, that is era, right? Right now, it was the Reiwa era. Before that, it was the Heiwa era, the Taisho, Heian. All of these are eras of the past. So they will say Reiwa year so-and-so, Reiwa year 10, Reiwa year 12, like that. It's a little confusing. But again, it's only in some really traditional documents. Hi. Hi, I was talking about this kanji just earlier today. Onyomi wa nan desu ka? Koku. Kunyomi wa? Kuni. It means country, right? You already know the word. So you already know the word kuni. Koku is onyomi. So it comes in compound words like Chugoku or China. So it's middle country. Chugoku. Sometimes koku becomes voiced in compound words. Chugoku. Kuni is when it appears on its own. Sometimes when you ask someone what country they're from, to ask them respectfully, they say, "O kuni." Your country. O kuni wa dochira desu ka? Where is your country? Which is your country? Hai. De, Chugoku-go, Chinese language, and so on. Now, this is a kanji whose picture is actually easy to learn. Once you know that this inner part, those strokes, basically represents a king. It's also the kanji for the word king. So this represents the borders of a country. So it's a leader and the borders of his country, right? Within these borders, he is the king. Outside of these borders, he doesn't have power, right? So a country or a nation has a border, a limit to its rules and laws. So that's what this kanji depicts. So as a typical enclosure type kanji, you want to come around the enclosure first, leave it open in the bottom, fill in the middle part, top to bottom, then close it at the end. This is the usual pattern. There's also one little stroke over here. Please don't forget that. So little strokes like that are often just added to tell one kanji apart from another. They don't have any other function. これは国、国の漢字です。はい。It's the kanji for Japanese currency or yen. They pronounce it as N. N. 10 yen. They say 10 yen. 10 yen. 10 yen dama. Coin. A 10 yen coin. So N is the onyomi. You also have kunyomi. 何ですか? Maru. Marui. Maru. Marui. So maru means circle. Marui is the adjective form. That is round in shape. Right? Marui kaban desu. So actually this kanji comes from that sense, right? Something that was round in shape, that's what became a coin, right? Coin or currency, and then came to stand for yen. 10 yen, 100 yen, and so on. It's the N. You can remember it any way you like. If you want, you can remember it as the board of a bank or something. 大丈夫ですか? Now, the last four kanji are the four direction kanji, the cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. So we will be starting with north. The onyomi are not all that important. Please focus first on the kunyomi. What is the kunyomi? Very good. Kita. Kita means north, basically. The onyomi sometimes has the meaning of defeat. What does it say? Hoku. Hoku. So you have this word haiboku. That boku and haiboku, it means defeat. The word haiboku itself means defeat. It's a compound kanji. This is one kanji, this is another kanji. So this gives that meaning, the main meaning to this kanji, haiboku. So that's an example, but it's not very useful for you at N5 level. You don't need to know this. I'm just giving it as an example. So kita, north. I like to think of it as two people sitting back to back, and they're holding their compasses, and they're trying to identify north, right? You have to always find north. So that's what this kanji is depicting. Left side first, and then right side. This is kita. Opposite of kita is Minami. Minami means south. Minami is south. Now, I'm not sure where this kanji came from, but it's supposed to represent a kind of structure like a greenhouse where you're growing plants. But I think maybe it has to do with farming, that the southern areas were better known for farming. I mean, Japan is basically a farming country. But the northern areas of Japan were not that populated early on. So it's possible that that's what this represents. That's my hunch. So it's a top-down kanji. Upper part is pretty easy. Bottom part, complete this outer enclosure and then move down. This part looks a bit like, does anyone know what it looks, what this looks like? Yen, right? Looks a little bit like the yen symbol, a little bit. Not exactly, but similar. これは南, Minami. So north, onyomi is hoku. South, onyomi is nan. You will see the onyomi used when you make compounds like northeast, southwest, and things like that. So when we come to east and west, we'll see that. Now we have east. It's probably my favorite. What is the kunyomi? Higashi. Higashi is east. So kita, minami, higashi, and you have west, which we'll see next. Higashi or to. The onyomi of this kanji is a little important because it comes in the word. How do you read it? Tokyo. Tokyo. Kyo means capital. So before Tokyo became the capital of Japan, the capital was this place called Kyoto. Kyoto. Okay, so Kyoto is all the way on the west. This is all the way in the east. So when they shifted, they gave it the name Eastern Capital. The Kyo in Tokyo is the same Kyo in Kyoto. The To is different. This is different. This means capital. So this is the original, like, this was a very long time, this was the capital of Japan, but it's not the only capital. And when they shifted it to the east, they called it the Eastern Capital. Tokyo, the Eastern Capital. Of course, this has a kanji, a different kanji. So onyomi plus onyon. Now you can also see some other onyomi compound examples. What are they? Haku. This is? Nanto. Hokuto, northeast. Nanto, southeast. Now, Higashi kanji is very easy to learn. It's like the sun kanji here and overlain with a tree kanji. Right? You can see it in the back there and you can see the sun behind it. That is, you're glimpsing the sun coming up in the east behind the trees. これは東。東 or 東。東京の東。Before Tokyo, actually Tokyo is a fairly new name. It used to be known as Edo. The original name of Tokyo when it was a very small harbor town used to be Edo. And lastly, you have the West kanji. 何ですか? Nishi. North? Give me all the kunyomi. North is? Kita. South? Minami. East? Higashi. West? Nishi. Very good. Nishi. So Nishi, Sai and Se are onyomi. Se is more common. For example, Nansei and Hokusei. Southwest and northwest. Now the Nishi kanji looks like it has the, what kanji does it look like? Yoni, number 4, the kanji for 4 is in the bottom part. These two strokes just protrude up and you have an extra stroke on top. So you start with that because it's the uppermost. You make most of your enclosure, fill these in and then close it in the bottom. Now the way I remember this, like it's easy to confuse, right? Kita, Minami, Higashi, Nishi. For Nishi, I think I remembered it that it's always the 4th one, right? Whenever we list the directions, for some reason, Palam West is the one that we always say last. North, South, East, West. So it's the 4th last direction. So you can remember it with the 4 kanji. Hai. Daijoubu desu ka? Any questions about the kanji part? Daijoubu desu ka? Yes? Okay. All right. We have 10 minutes. That clock is 5 minutes fast. So we have 10 minutes left. What I want to do in this time, I want to introduce something from lesson 9 to you so that, like last week with lesson 8, how you could go home and review this verb conjugation. You can go home and review this and get comfortable if I tell you the basic part about it. So in this lesson, what we're going to see is how to conjugate adjectives. So you'll be learning some new adjectives, but not right away. I don't want to talk about that just right now. Let's talk about how we can put adjectives in negative form. Right? That's the one of the main new things in lesson 9. I hope everyone online can see the slide. Is it visible?
Hi.
Hai. Great. So can I have everyone read that sentence? Kono kohi wa
このコーヒーはおいしい
oishii desu.
おいしいです。
What do you think oishi means? Yes. Oishi, is it an e adjective or a na adjective?
いいadjective.
Okay, e adjective. Oishi. It's ending in e and the sound before is also e sound. So oishi. This coffee is tasty. Okay? The plain form is kono kohi wa oishi. You don't have to say this. That's all. Oishi. Now, how do you change this to negative form? You want to say this coffee is not tasty. Very close. Can we please read it?
このコーヒーはおいしくないです。おいしくないです。
Oishiku nai desu. Oishiku arimasen.
ありません。
They both mean the same thing. You can, for now, maybe just ignore this. We'll come back to that. Just remember this one. Oishiku arimasen. And you already know arimasen. What does arimasen mean?
No.
Not, right? So it's bringing the meaning of not to the adjective. But you need to do one extra step. What is that? What did we change? Ku. Are we just adding ku?
He's dropping the E.
Very good. We're dropping the e and adding the ku. After that, we're attaching arimasen. This ku is the glue for e adjectives. When we change e adjective form into some other form, mostly we will drop the e. It's the first thing that will go when you change e adjectives. Drop the e, add a glue sound. The glue sound is usually some kind of ka sound. In the case of negative, it's ku. And then you add the meaning of not. Oishiku arimasen. It's not tasty. So for example, you want to say this book is not expensive. How can I say it? Kono hon wa takai becomes very good. So takaku arimasen. Takaku arimasen. This book is not expensive. That's different from saying it's not, that it's cheap, right? A cheap book may be 50 rupees, right? An expensive book may be 500 rupees. Something between this, it's neither cheap nor expensive. It's not expensive. Takaku arimasen. This nai that you're seeing here has the same exact meaning as arimasen. It's basically the plain form of arimasen. Right? It's the plain form. Oishiku nai. If you just say this, it's plain language. Right? So for everything we're learning plain form, like aru arimasu, iru imasu, yomu yomimasu. Like that. Arimasen is a very, very special verb in Japanese language. It gets a unique, special, plain form that looks nothing like it. All the others, they share something, right? They look a little similar. This one's totally dissimilar, but it has the same meaning. Nine is easy to remember because in most languages, negative begins with a na sound, right? In most languages. When we want to say no, it's always in a na sound. So you can easily remember this. So arimasen and nai are the same thing. If you want to make a pseudo polite form using nai, you can add desu to it. So saying nai desu and saying arimasen are both polite. Just nai is plain. That's the main difference here. So this is for e adjective. Hi, dozo.
Takai is both tall and expensive.
Hi. Same thing.
So if I'm gonna say that a ladder is tall,
Hi.
if I'm gonna use Takai in that sentence, whether the person will understand whether the ladder is expensive or tall.
Mostly from the situation, they'll get the idea what you're trying to say. So if you're talking about prices, then it means you're talking about its rate being expensive. If you're talking about the height of your ceiling and how you have to climb up, then you'll understand that it's height. So which takai you mean would be situation or context. Mostly that will make it clear. There won't be much room for confusion. Hai.
Why aren't we using Deva arimasen?
So it's because it's an E adjective. Deva arimasen is going to appear for na adjective. So we'll see why in just a second. Can we read the sentence?
Hayashi-san wa denki desu.
Hayashi-san wa genki desu ne. Hayashi is energetic.
Energetic.
Plain form? Genki da. Genki da. Negative form? Hayashi-san wa
Hayashi-san wa Deva nai desu.
Deva nai desu or Deva.
Arimasen.
He's not genki. He's not energetic. He's not healthy. What change is happening here? Desu or da is becoming Deva. That's why Deva appears over here. Remember, as I mentioned with na adjectives, they need something to hold on to, right? They need that crutch. So desu and da are the ones that transform into Deva. It's the same sound, right? The da sound. That transforms, and then you attach not at the end. It's the same with nouns, right? Watashi wa sensei desu. Sensei dewa arimasen. Nouns also need something to lean on. On the other hand, with E adjectives, what's actually happening is the adjective itself is transforming, right? This E is being dropped and this ku is being added. It's more like you're not adding something. It's transforming completely its own form. E adjectives can transform on their own. Na adjectives cannot transform. So the desu or da is doing the transforming on their behalf, right? So genki stays put. I'm staying still, I'm not changing. It's the rest that will change. The same way with E adjectives, just nai is plain form. So how can you say he's not healthy in a plain language? Hayashi-san wa genki dewa nai. And now many of you who like listening to Japanese may have often heard instead of dewa, they often say ja. Ja. It's the spoken form. It's not rude. It's not casual. It's just spoken habit. So genki janai. Genki ja arimasen. You can use it both in plain and polite, right? Wherever deva appears, you can use ja if you want. Same for watashi wa gakusei ja arimasen. Watashi wa gakusei janai desu. You can say it for noun also. Anywhere deva appears, you can say ja. So often at the end of class, I say, or in the beginning of class, I say dewa hajimemasu. Dewa also means well then. When you just use it in the beginning of a sentence, it often means well then. Well, if that's all, let's get moving. Deva. You can also say ja. Ja. So, ja mata. Mata ne, mata ashita. Mata ashita, deva mata ashita is more formal. Ja mata ashita, it's more spoken, right? A bit more chummy, a bit more, I wouldn't say casual, but just a bit more friendly, right? So you often see this pattern in spoken language. So this is what I want everyone to just try to work on this week so that when we come back next week, we can proceed with lesson 9 and you feel some confidence with this. So for E adjective, to change to negative form, change E to ku and add nai or arimasen. For na adjective, change da to deva and add nai or desu to deva and add arimasen. This is E adjective and na adjective. Negative form. We'll just do one or two like this, just in speech, just for practice, shall we? So oishi and genki we already saw. Let's try some other E adjective. For example, nagai. What is the negative form? Nagakunai. Very good. Nagaku arimasen. What about another na adjective? Shizuka. Shizuka? Dewa nai. Shizuka? Dewa arimasen. 上手 talented, skilled.
上手ではない。
上手ではありません。not skilled, not talented. 便利 convenient. 便利ではありません。It's not convenient. It's not convenient. 便利ではありません。So E adjective, be cautious. You have to make this change. Non-adjective, you have to do that change. 大丈夫ですか? So this week, I want everyone to catch up and complete lesson 8 homework online and in your textbook. Practice kanji up until lesson 9 and just review this part of lesson 9, conjugation. 大丈夫ですか? 質問や疑問などありますか? はい、オンラインの皆さん、質問や疑問などありますか? 大丈夫ですか?
大丈夫です。
では、終わりました。ね。はい。ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
はい、ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
はい、お疲れ。
ありがとうございました。
はい、ありがとうございました。お疲れ様です。また来週ですね。I'll see everyone next week.